Bismillah. Thank you very much. My name is Aleem Hussain. I'm a family physician and the president of the board of directors for the Muslim Medical Association of Canada. I'd like to start by thanking the UOSSM leadership for giving me this opportunity to talk to our audience today about the Muslim Medical Association of Canada, and in particular how our community of Muslim physicians here in Canada has mobilized and responded to some of the pressing needs that came up during the COVID-19 pandemic. So that will be what I'm talking about. I just wanted to also acknowledge that some of the UOSSM leadership, they're friends and colleagues of ours and members of the Muslim Medical Association of Canada, especially Dr. Anas Al-Qasim, Dr. Ali Khan, Dr. Hussain. They're all people who all very much look up to and respect very much. We are also really honored to be kind of colleague organizations with UOSSM, which does such amazing, sincere work. And we've had the opportunity to work together over the years. And I really appreciate the opportunity that you presented me with today. And hopefully this will be of benefit to everybody that gets a chance to listen. So just a little bit about the Muslim Medical Association of Canada. So we're a registered not-for-profit. We have a Canada-wide presence. We're at the vast majority of all Canadian medical institutions. So we have kind of a home base across the country, and online you can find out more about us through our website, muslimmeds.ca. We recently refreshed the website, so it looks great. You can find us on most social media platforms at Muslim Meds. And we have very lively discussions on our WhatsApp chat for physicians. So if anybody's interested in joining those, please feel free to sign up as a member on our website. And then that way we can get you into our network. So please do look into all that. And I think that's going to feed well into how that sense of community that we were able to build has really come to a great benefit during this pandemic. So often I'll present a version of this slide where it says professional development, community education, and social. But obviously things have changed quite a bit over the last year or so. A lot less socializing, and that's where kind of COVID-19 has become one of the focuses of the organization. In terms of professional development, we do everything we can to help raise awareness about the career of medicine, help give opportunities to young people who might be interested in a career in healthcare to achieve their best potential, and those who are already in the medical education pipeline to achieve excellence and to be great representatives of the Muslim community in healthcare. In terms of community education, we have a regular series of lectures we do throughout the year, focused on the general public, increasing their knowledge and awareness of important health issues. And I'll touch on that shortly too. But whereas we're not socializing in person anymore, that social network that MMAC cultivated over the last several years really came to be a big help for us during the COVID-19 pandemic, where so many of us worked together selflessly to address some of the needs that we had as a community. So I'm just going to go through some programs that we did. We modified them to be virtual this year. So we have an annual Women's Health Day for the general public, and obviously we did that online this year. We did a basic life savings course online for people to access, again, with some volunteer MMAC physicians. And we continued our Canadian Muslim Mental Health Conference, which we do in partnership with the University of Toronto Department of Psychiatry. And for those of you who may not have attended, we do lectures for the general public, for healthcare professionals, as well as for religious leaders. And obviously, there was quite a bit about COVID-19 and its effect on mental health as part of the conference this year. So I'm going to go more into how COVID-19 impacted our organization and how the community of Muslim physicians really responded to this this test that we had. Around March, when it became clear that COVID-19 was very much a big presence and coming to Canada, it became clear that a lot of staff and residents might have to be redeployed from the services they're comfortable with to services they may not have been on in months, if not years, and could benefit from a refresh of their knowledge. So we set up these refresher courses with volunteers taking out time to give these great lectures on internal medicine, emergency medicine, ICU. These lectures were open for everybody. We had hundreds of physicians attending. For our latter lectures, we actually had people that had attended the first lecture saying, "Well, this is great, and I'd really like to help contribute to this series." We also recognize the need for mental health supports in the general public and the community as a result of COVID-19. We have our resource, the muslimmentalhealth.ca website, where we made more resources available specific to COVID-19 for the general public. But also we understood that there was going to be an element of physician burnout and the toll that being a frontline worker, especially a healthcare worker in the pandemic, takes on somebody. So we also organized as MMAC these virtual support circles for frontline healthcare workers to address that need. A big part of where I'd normally be talking about what we do socially, this is kind of what came of the social aspect of our organization, where we found that we were able to take those networks, those discussions, those forums of Muslim physicians coming together and helping amazing things happen. So Conquer COVID-19, I think many people are aware of, and though to be clear, that's a large collaborative effort of people of all faiths and business people in government, but with healthcare workers taking a large role in that. Many of our NMAC members were the key physicians that made this initiative possible, and they came together using our network of physicians to do something really positive, help collect PPE and important resources that were much needed at that time. The Critical Drugs Coalition is another initiative that's come up with MMAC members raising awareness for anticipated critical drug shortages and lobbying the government in that regard. What I'm going to focus on for kind of the rest of the talk is the Canadian Muslim COVID-19 Task Force, partly because this is most directly a project that MMAC has started and working very closely on. It was organized by the MMAC leadership, along with other partners in other Muslim organizations to come together. It is chaired by our co-director of education from Muslim Medical Association of Canada, Dr. Hashim Khan, along with Sister Rabia Qadar, who is very well known and respected in our community, and started Deen Support Services. So I'm going to talk a bit more about that, as this is something that MMAC continues to be very closely involved in. This is the website for the Canadian Muslim COVID Task Force. It came into being on March 12th, 2020. And the reason that date is important is because it was really after that we started dealing with things like lockdowns of our mosques, and understanding that it's complicated, right? This is something that is a very critical part of the lives of so many people, and how they respond to it or how they understand it is going to be dependent on how it's explained or understood within the community. In fact, we were so early to it that a lot of the other faith communities who established task forces worked with us to help establish those. And for instance, the South Asian COVID-19 Task Force is something we became involved with as a result of that. Among the first things that we developed were guidelines and guidance, particularly as it came to closing our houses of worship. We advocated for that actually before it became government policy. And the reason being, again, that we saw that, knowing our community, we wanted to reduce the risk of exposure and the risk of an outbreak to our houses of worship and our congregations. We were able to make a statement, MMAC, along with the Canadian Council of Imams, advocating from that. And the reason we felt that was important is this presented to Muslim organizations, houses of worship, an authority that said that this is okay, and this is in fact what we recommend. So people felt confidence in that decision, rather than it maybe coming from somewhere that they didn't quite understand or trust, and speaking from both a place of healthcare and religious authority. Subsequent to that, we've addressed other concerns that we've had as a result of the pandemic, how we perform our funeral services or ghusl and janazas. We have guidelines to how to do those appropriately in accordance with Islamic principles and also safely. We've also helped with the Canadian Muslim Relief Network and assisting them in how to safely distribute care packages when COVID-19 first started. And we've provided guidance on Ramadan and Eid, as well as reopening of masjids, and we've distributed all this information through our masjid database. As many of you may remember, Ramadan and Eid al-Fitr, the first Eid, happened in the state of lockdown, and Eid al-Adha, the second Eid, happened in a state where we were not locked down. In fact, the lockdown was lifted 48 hours prior, so it really gave us not a lot of time to work on it, but I think this was very important work for that reason. Here's an example of a document that we produced, or the task force produced, about masjid reopening in different phases. Facing the public, we tried to make as much educational material, posters, handouts available, and in multiple languages. An example of one that we actually used to be distributed to different masjids for Eid is here. This was available in different languages. Similarly, our statements are available on our website. We talked about the ones related to mosques opening and closing. We've now started working on statements regarding vaccines. We know that that's going to be the next frontier in COVID-19, and we are, for each vaccine, producing a statement with both religious authority and Muslim physicians bringing their healthcare knowledge to releasing statements saying that regarding the permissibility of each individual vaccine for Muslims to receive. These are some other examples of handouts. So this is for what to do in the event of an outbreak in a masjid and monitoring and evaluation forms. Again, all from the hard work of the team that worked at the COVID task force. Here's some posters at, say, the Khadija Center that the task force worked to produce. There's been also an ongoing webinar series on various topics. Of note, we did a COVID-19 Q&A for the public with very respected members of the community. Many people may know Dr. Abdul Sharkawi. He participated in that, helped answer questions that the public had. We're currently doing a series of talks on vaccine education in different languages. Here's a poster for one that'll actually be happening the same day as this talk, later in the evening in Arabic, but we have others planned in different languages: Urdu, Somali, Bengali, and hopefully more. We've also made an effort to get out through different media appearances, both newspapers and television, print media, and to different ethnic media channels, both online, radio, and whatnot. To kind of bring things to a close, what's next? I think we know that the next frontier is definitely vaccines, and I think vaccine hesitancy, misinformation, these are all things that we're going to have to address. And I think that comes from us as a community being able to make our own statements and make our own authoritative presentations to the public about the different vaccines. We've already the task force has already released statements on Pfizer and Moderna vaccines, as those are the ones that are approved in Canada, with other statements anticipated as hopefully more vaccines become available. We also will continue to work with public health and government contacts as we identify high-risk communities within our own Muslim community, especially looking at different demographics of racialized Muslims. We look forward to Ramadan and Eid this year, 2021. We expect that it will be different. We don't know how, but we have to be prepared for whatever way it comes to us. And of course, we look forward very much to planning for a post-pandemic world and seeing the supports and services our community needs. Again, I'd like to thank you all for listening to this talk and the organizers for putting this together. Here is information for our email, our website, our various social media channels. Please do follow us if you're a physician, medical student, resident, and are interested in being part of this type of a a team to help do positive things during the pandemic, please do reach out to us. And I think that's really what I just wanted to leave us all with, is that this organization is a representation of what's possible when we, without any self-gain, just hoping for the best for our community and hoping best for Canadians in general, it can come together and make something special like this happen. Thank you very much.